Hello, everybody. Is everybody enjoying the second day of NAMM? Fantastic. So there's a bunch of different things I want to talk about today. First of all, is probably my awesome new custom shop Yamaha Pacifica guitar. How cool is that? Yeah, bit of a rev star going on there, Pacifica, reverse headstock, just for me. So I'm really proud and pleased to be playing this today. So the first product I want to do is HX Stomp. First of all, how many people here have Helix? Quite a few. So hopefully we can convert some people here as well. So I'm going to do HX Stomp. I'm going to do HX Effects as well, and we'll go through just some of the different things that separate those products and separate the from the Helix floor. So HX Stomp is this product that's behind me on the screen there, and essentially it's a baby Helix. It has everything that Helix has, but in a tiny little compact size. So because of its size, people sometimes think it maybe just has like Helix quality, but does a lot less. That's not actually the case. It does have amp models in there. It has all of the effects. It has all of those bass amps. So there's 13 different bass amps. There's 60 different guitar amplifiers, plus there's 200 different effects in there. You can just use fewer at a time than the big Helix, like the floor Helix that we originally brought out. So you can run it, because of its size, you could run it on a pedal board. So it could just sit on your pedal board and add, you know, maybe just different effects that you want, maybe some crazy effects that you would never want to spend a lot of money on on an individual pedal, just something you want to bring in for one song, you know, one song at a time. It can also run direct into the PA, and that's what you're going to be hearing today. I'm running HX Stomp into 2 power cabs, and then we're running direct into the front of house. So it's meant to sit on your pedal board. It can just add effects, or it can do the full sound direct, which is exactly what you'll be hearing. So I'm going to start it off by playing a little bit of a track. Hopefully it'll be nice and relaxing. And actually, before I do that, I'm just going to say that this is one of the new Helix models. This is the Helix Placator, which is the clean sound. That's a nice tone. Yeah. And you're going to hear that. At times, I'm going to add a bit of overdrive to that. And you're also going to hear some Voxy type sounds with big reverbs on there as well. I'm going to switch between 3 sort of sounds. You're going to hear them. So let's give it a try. Thank you. Nice to start it off with something a little bit chilled. Right. So let's just jump in and have a look at how some of the reasons why Helix has always been so popular is how easy it is to use. It's how tactile it is and how easy it is to go through different things. So if we look at the top of HX Stomp, has everybody actually seen an HX Stomp in real life? You appreciate how small that thing is that's just sitting on the pedal board there. So it still has the same capacitance touch foot switches that we have on all of the Helix range. So that means that if I was to touch this green foot switch here, It's color coded, so I'm always going to know that a green foot switch is going to be delay. I know a purple foot switch is going to be a filter. I know an orange foot switch is going to be a reverb. So on stage, I can very quickly see what I've actually got on my feet there, so I can switch things in and out. But if I was to touch that green foot switch, obviously this is a screen, this is actually not the actual HX Stomp, but this would switch over and I'd instantly be able to see all of the parameters for the delay. So there's no menu scrolling, there's no, back in the day when the first early multi-effects processors, you'd go down a page and you have to scroll along and you'd be scrolling down pages just to get this to different settings. If I touch this foot switch, I instantly have all of the parameters for the twin harmony effect that's on there as well. So it means it's really, really easy to use and really, really tactile, and it's kind of fun to program things. You're very rare you're going to have to get a manual out and do that. Once you see those parameters on the screen, you have 3 knobs underneath there, and they give you instant access to those parameters as well. So you can very, very quickly in a live situation tweak and save and edit those sounds. So that's one of the things that's made Helix so popular right the way through the range, and that's on HX Effects, that's on Helix Floor, all of that sort of tactile way of programming things. So obviously it is smaller. It's a more stripped down Helix in terms of it hasn't got as much I/O. Obviously we can't have all of those different ins and outs and stuff that's going on there. But I find for most of the stuff that I want to do, there's enough stuff there with having 6 different blocks. So this is the signal path up here, 6 different blocks. You can see that I can also split that onto a parallel path as well. So if you want to run your reverbs and delays parallel, it's going to allow you to do that. And those 6 effects, they could be six modulation effects, it could be a combination of effects, or they could be amp models, cabinet models, and it even does impulse response loading as well. So any of the third-party, Owen Hammer impulse responses, it's going to do that as well. So it really is it's everything you need in one box. On the back of it, you can see it's stereo ins and outs. So it's not just for guitar players. Yeah, you could use that if you're a DJ or if you're in a studio, or you could put keyboards through that. USB, so it will work as an interface. So you could just plug that into a Mac or PC and stream your guitar tones straight into that. Basically use it as a sound card. And you also get the edit software as well. So Helix Edit will work with this. If you guys who've got Helixes, if you wanted to change, swap some presets over, you can actually copy blocks from your Helix over into this as well. So you can actually have this as a backup, as a backup rig there as well. And over here, you've got an option for having an extra foot pedals in there as well. Mission have just brought out a great little 2-button foot switch. So instead of having 3 foot switches, it gives you the option of having the extra 2 foot switches there. Or you could have connected an expression pedal for wah effects or for fading in, fading in reverbs, any kind of sort of real-time effects changing. We also have an effects loop on there as well. So you've got a stereo effects loop. You've got a stereo sort of TRS send there and 2 returns. That means you can do a bunch of different things. It obviously means that you could run 2 of your favorite. So if it's just sitting on your pedal board, you can run your 2 of your favorite pedals in there. With the right connection, you can switch them independently as well. It also obviously means that you could run your amp in 4-cable method. So is everybody familiar with 4-cable method? Yeah, good idea about that. It just means basically that you can switch between Helix amp models, but you can also switch them out and switch directly to the actual amp sound of a real traditional amplifier as well. So you never need to lose your original guitar tone. You just swap that out and have any of the sort of the 60 or 73 different Helix amp models. You could also run it in this kind of way. You could have a traditional amp on stage. You could have HX Stomp adding a bunch of different effects, sending them just straight to your amp, just as individual pedals, so a distortion or a modulation. So you hear that going to your amp on stage. That will also continue through here and then go to the front of house with a speaker simulated signal as well. So you wouldn't necessarily need to mic your amp up. You could actually run that through IRs straight into the front of house like I'm doing now. So just by sort of splitting that path, sending different things, different effects in different directions there. On the other side, we have MIDI in and out and through. So you can have this controlled by other devices. So if you wanted to switch in effect and have something else telling HX Stomp what to do, it will do that, and it'll also send out program change information. So if you wanted to MIDI, connect MIDI to HX Stomp to PowerCab, you could actually have HX Stomp switching the PowerCab presets as well. So that's a nice feature which we'll talk about probably in a demo that's on later today. So yeah, HX Stomp, tiny, compact enough to sit on your pedal board, compact enough to be a few different pedals, or to be your whole tone direct to the PA. Okay, so let's listen to a couple of different amp models now. Okay. So there's 60 different amp sounds in here. I'll stay in drop D, I think, for this. Yeah, big, responsive. The one I like on the heavy side of things is the Uber shout. Yeah, big sound. One of the things I really like about the Uber shell, and all of the amps in there, or what the HX modeling is, the guys are component modeling different amplifiers and different effects. So they actually take those amplifiers to bits. In fact, the guy is right there at the back there, Ben, the expert who takes things to bits, analyzes how they work, and makes like little digital recreations of all the little components on that circuit board that make a difference to the sound. The result of that is that on an amp model, it works like old school when you buy an amp back in the 80s. If I turn the guitar down and play quite quietly, it actually cleans up like a real amp. Now, without changing any effects, if I just turn the guitar volume up, I mean, that's one of the coolest things about for how good modeling has become these days. Okay. About some things like the more of a crunchy type sound. Again, very, very responsive and very dynamic. We were also able to, it's not all about modeling other amplifiers. What Line 6 were also able to do is actually create amplifiers that would be very difficult to make, or impossible to build in real life. So the guys there are able to take some elements of some real amplifiers and blend them with other amplifiers as well, and basically come up with an ideal sort of their perfect amp. This is one that was very popular. This is the litigator amp. Very responsive, very dynamic. Okay. We can also have, because of the two paths, I can actually run two amps at the same time. So for this preset, I've gone back to the placator sound, and I've set up foot switch number 3 to switch between the clean version of that amp and the dirty version of that amp. So without changing preset, I'm just toggling between amps like an A-B switch. Yeah. So by doing things like that, it means you're not changing preset, you're not having to reload all of the effects there, so your delay and your reverb stay across the top of everything as well. Okay. Effects-wise, we have things like the Univibe. So this is a sort of plexi sound, and I'm going to add a few different effects to this. So foot switch number 3 now is adding that Univibe. Very, very analog, gooey, I think people like to call it. Again, things like autofilling. Some more unique effects like the multipass delay. some effects that Line 6 are creating. They're not, it's not all about modeling other effects. Things like the Octavia, Proctavia. And then we have some of the big reverbs. Some really kind of sort of soundtracky type reverbs that went in a few updates back. Okay. So before I move on with some of the effects, let's just play another bit of music. And as I said before, let me find. I just need to get this guitar back up. So I'm not used to having a guitar with a reverse headstock, so, but I'm constantly thinking I'm meant to be on here. Yeah. So this next track is instead of using Line 6's own speaker cabinets there, we're actually going to use some of the Untitled impulse responses. And hopefully on the video behind you'll see the signal path that I've got there. You'll be able to see some of the icons that are being added as I'm playing. So we started to look at some of the HX, the actual HX effects models, and you can see some of the graphics there. I'm going to go back to. So say we had the glitz reverb before, but if you want to kind of go crazy with effects with those 6 different blocks and the parallel paths, you can start to really add some. Pretty much any kind of effect that you can imagine, you're going to be able to do something sort of atmospheric and kind of cool with in there as well. I like that one because it sounds like the PA is broken, but is that just me? Does that sound cool? So one more track on this product, and this is using the pitch echo. So as you can see, all the repeats there actually have a pitch going through them. And on this one, we are going to assigned. You've got different ways of assigning the foot switches. Foot switch number 3 on this is actually going to toggle between 2 different delays. So as I switch off that pitch echo, it's just going to go to a big sort of stereo delay for the second half of the piece. So thank you. So that's HX Stomp. I said before, it sits on your pedal board. It's your entire guitar tone. You haven't heard anything else apart from HX Stomp direct into the PA there. So I'm not adding any other effects pedals that you see on here aren't working. It's just literally that little HX Stomp box.